Okay, today we're talking about Mark Cuban, how to win at the sport of business. So, this is probably not a book that most athletes are going to pick up and read, but there's so many lessons to be learned. So, Mark Cuban, for those of you that don't know who Mark Cuban is, this is Mark Cuban didn't even want to write this book. So many people just asked him to write a book that he basically compiled like a number of blog posts together. But I want to talk about the lessons to be learned from Mark Cuban in sport. So Mark Cuban is a billionaire investor on Shark Tank. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's been well known for his crazy behavior on the basketball court. Yelling at referees and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And he has a different perspective than most NBA owners. He has a competitive fire. He has a competitive nature that he's not afraid to show. He has a competitive nature that he is willing to share, and he's willing to let it out. He's willing to, let other people see it. So I got some notes here. I got a few ideas. I got a few lessons and how they're transferable to you guys in sports. So, if you're watching on TikTok, if you're live, let me know what sport you guys play. Let me know if you're a basketball player. Let me know what sport you play. If you're familiar with Mark Cuban, maybe not. But there's an interesting story about how Mark Cuban got started with technology, with computers, okay? So all the way back in the 90s, when computers were just starting to get popular, Mark Cuban was a recent college graduate. He went to Indiana University. He was a recent college graduate, and he moves down to Texas, and he goes to this job interview. And he's in this job interview, and the people that sent him to this job interview were like a hiring firm. So they're basically trying to get people hired. So he went to this job interview, and he's very charismatic. He was very outgoing. And the people that were supposed to be hiring him said, hey, yeah, we would love to have you for the job. Just don't tell the hiring agency so that we don't have to pay them their fee. And it was about IBM PC, so IBM computers, right? This is the very infancy of computers as we know it, right? So, he was very charismatic, very outgoing. They liked him. They wanted to hire him, so on and so forth. And he was completely honest, right? And he has it in his book. He says, I didn't know anything about PCs. I didn't know anything about IBM PCs at the time, right? But he had the courage, and here's the lesson to be learned for you guys. He took a job where he knew nothing about what he was going to be doing in his job, but he had the courage enough to adapt. He had the courage enough to take his drive, his passion, and educate himself. And he said he found out something really interesting. So he took the job. He didn't know anything about IBM PCs, right? He took home the owner's manuals. He read books. He read magazines. And he said, looking back on it, it's a funny thing because it's all public information. All of the expertise that he ever gained was all public information. And he found it really interesting that nobody ever took the time to discover all of that information for themselves. No, not many people wanted to. So the lesson to be learned is having the courage, even if you don't know something. Take, for example, in your sport, right? If you're in a team sport and you're asked to play a different position, if you don't know anything about that position, if you're not comfortable with that position, all of the information that you need to succeed in a different position already exists. It's not like you have to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. All of the information that you need to be successful in that position already exists. It's just a matter of exposing yourself to that information. So that's Mark Cuban taking a job on something that he didn't even know. So if you guys are just jumping on, we're talking about Mark Cuban. I know you guys like the books that I share with you guys. This is a little different one. You can see that this is a thin one. And it's not really a book like you would typically see. And you can see I dog ear the pages. It's not a typical book. Like, it's not thick. It's very short. It's less than 100 pages. You can read it very quickly. It's a very simple read. I know when I was younger, like high school, I didn't read any books. I'll be completely honest with you. I read one book, actually two books in high school. I read two books in high school, and they weren't even related to schooling. They were related to sports psychology. I read Mind Gym and I read Heads Up Baseball. And I'm not encouraging you to not do your schoolwork or anything like that, but it's more empowering, it's more informational. You're going to get more out of it if you're reading something that you're interested in and that you're not bogged down by. So this is a quick read. You're not going to get bogged down by it. It's so simple, it's so quick that you can capture the information very quickly. But I want to share with you guys some lessons. So a lot of athletes ask about confidence, right? How can I improve my confidence? How can I gain more confidence when I'm on the field? And here's something interesting. Mark Cuban says he reads for 3 hours a day. Now, the lesson is not that you need to read for 3 hours a day. The lesson to be learned is that he has something that gives him comfort. He has something that gives him confidence in his preparation, and that is his reading. That's taking the time to read for 3 hours a day. That gives him the comfort, that gives him the confidence to actually gain the information and then take it and use it in whatever context he needs. So the same thing applies to you. What are the specific components that you need to do on a consistent basis so that you do have the confidence, that you do have the comfort going into any of your competitions, any of your practices, any of your tryouts? It's about finding out what gives you the confidence. What are the specific routines that can give you the confidence? Tony Gwynn, the baseball player, said, if you can't have confidence in anything, you can have confidence in your preparation. So here's another one. Always run your business like you're competing with the biggest in your industry. So he's a billionaire investor, he's a business guy, but how does that apply to you? How does that apply to you as an athlete? So running your business like you're competing against the biggest giants. As an athlete then, you should be running your career like you're competing against the best players in your league. Because if you can compete with the best businesses, once you're ready to compete with the best businesses, or as an athlete, once you're ready to compete with the best players in your league, then all of the other competition becomes irrelevant. Once you're ready to compete with the best of the best, then everything else seems much easier, much simpler, much more digestible. You don't get overwhelmed then. Make sure not to lie to yourself about effort. It's not about time, it's about goals and getting results. So if you're just jumping on here, we're talking about Mark Cuban, how to win at the business, at the sport of business, and how it applies to you in your sport. Okay, so he's talking about don't lie to yourself about effort. Effort is not measured in time. Effort is not measured in hours. And man, this is a lesson that I wish I had learned, because as an athlete, man, I was showing up before practice, I was staying after practice, I was getting extra time in the weight room, I was, doing anything and everything that you could in terms of time, putting the time in, putting the physical time in. But it's not necessarily about time. Time is a component, you do have to put the time in, but it's really about not lying to yourself and saying, okay, here's the results that I want to get, here are the goals that I want to achieve. Now the effort is measured by whether I achieve them or not. So if you're not getting what you want, maybe you need to put in more time towards that goal. If you are getting what you want, then maybe you are putting in the right effort. There's no, it's the 10,000 hour rule is often misconstrued as that you just put 10,000 hours into something and all of a sudden it makes you better. And it also goes to your sport, right? So many people want to talk about reps. I want to get reps in my sport and I want to get reps in. I want to practice all these reps. Well, yeah, hey man, it's not all about reps. It's not just about reps. What about deliberate reps? What about reps that are actually moving you closer to your goal, moving you closer to your desired outcome? That's the real progress. That's when, actual things start to happen in your career, not just putting time in. So Mark Cuban's got a lot of great lessons. So Mark Cuban was a Indiana University graduate, and the old legendary coach Bobby Knight. So this is a quote from Bobby Knight that Mark Cuban lives by. He said, "Everyone has got the will to win. It's only those with the will to prepare that do win." So it's not just about wanting to win. It's not just about having the will to win. Everyone wants to win. Nobody goes out in the court and wants to lose. Nobody goes out in the court wanting to not achieve, not wanting to do well. Everyone goes out and wants to do well. It's those that have the will to prepare. And this circles back to what Mark Cuban said. What gives him confidence and comfort is that he reads for 3 hours a day. So what do you do? What are the things in your preparation that are you willing to do that are going to give you the comfort and the confidence? The will to prepare. What are those specific things that are going to give you the comfort and the confidence so that you can go out and have the results that you want? Here's a big one. You definitely want to learn this one. Win the battles that you're in before you take on new battles. Man, that's mind-blowing for an athlete. Win the battles that you're in. So what does that mean? It's not necessarily fighting with anyone. It's not necessarily winning the battles that you're in with a coach or a teammate. Winning the battles that you're in. So what are the specific elements of your game? What are the elements of your game that you're working on right now? What are you trying to get better at right now? So there's an interesting exercise. It's called the circle of focus, right? If you're trying to improve one piece of your game, right? If you're trying to improve one component of your game, then you have 100% focus to put on improving that part of your game. But what Mark Cuban is saying, win the battles that you're in. So if I'm working on one part of my game and then all of a sudden I get distracted and say, oh, I got to go work on this part, and I got to go work on this part, and I got to go work on this part, and I got to go work on that part, then all of a sudden your focus is divided. You're not winning the battles that you're in. You're in multiple battles. You're battling, trying to work on, let's take just getting into better shape or increasing your strength, right? If all I'm trying to do is work on my strength in my sport, then I can put a 100% focus there. But if I'm trying to work on my strength and I'm trying to work on my speed, I'm trying to work on my agility, and that's probably not the best example because all the fitness side comes into play. I understand that. That's probably not the best example. But think about this tactical side of your sport. Think about the strategies. Think about the fundamentals of your sport. Maybe it's executing a specific move or executing a specific play. Master that play. Get really good at that play before you move on to trying 10 different things, because then your mind's just going to get jumbled and you're going to lose focus. And here's the last one. We're talking about, if you're just jumping on, we're talking about Mark Cuban. How to win at the sport of business. This is actually the second time I read this, but there's a lot of lessons to be applied to sports here. So there's a lot of athletes out there that, and I have my days myself where Mark Cuban said he had days where he was dreading the day, he was not motivated, he was tired, he wanted to crawl into a rock, he wanted to disappear, and he just didn't have it that day. He just didn't feel like it that day. He said the biggest differentiator is the time that you have to fight through those battles where you don't feel like it, where you don't want to get out of bed, where you don't feel your best, where you're not motivated to do what you need to do, but you do it anyways. That's the separator. Everyone can do well when they feel good. Everyone can succeed when things are going well. The differentiator then is, hey, I feel like shit today. What do I need to do? What specifically do I need to do to make sure I'm getting better? So you're going to have days where you feel like shit. You're going to have days where you don't feel like doing it, where you don't feel motivated. It's about doing it anyways and getting through it. So great book. Less than 100 pages, man. It's so simple to read, so simple to go through. I know it's talking about business, but how to win at the sport of business. So many great lessons to be applied to sport, to athletics. So definitely recommend it. Mark Cuban, billionaire, Shark Tank investor. Go check it out. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please smash that subscribe button down below and leave your questions in the comment section, because that's the inspiration behind these videos to help serve you guys specifically with what you're struggling with. And if you'd like to take things a step further, check the links in the description below. If you're interested in our coaching, if you're interested in checking me out on other platforms and connecting with me there, if you're interested in some of our other free training, definitely check it out in the description below. And I will see you guys on the next video.